The glitz, the glamour, the gasoline. They say if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Same rules apply in the case of the NASCAR Cup and Xfinity Series.
Kyle Larson scores his 24th career win.
But beware, Lady Luck doesn't favor every driver.
No trouble.
Christopher Bell is around off of 2.
Ready to roll? No, not that roll. This one. Vegas awaits on this week's Around the Track.
The Wild West Wing in NASCAR continues with drivers trying their luck in Las Vegas. Welcome into the fastest half hour in sports. This is Around the Track. I'm Gabe McDonald. Carla Metz is on assignment. We're finally back at a mile-and-a-half track, which means we'll see what these drivers really have in 2025. It's always a roll of the dice in the shadow of the desert, but lucky for us, we've got a Cup Series driver in the house to help break it all down. Driver of the 01 Stacking Pennies Ford Mustang, Corey LaJoie, is in the building. Plus, we're going to go one-on-one with Sin City's own driver of the 35 for 2311 Racing, and Riley Herbst making his first start at his home track. Well, let's hit the track now because we're finally back at a true intermediate track here in the 2025 campaign. But when we come to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we're in multiple challenges. Crazy bumps on the track, green flag pit stops, off some wild banking, and the fact that some drivers are already in desperation mode 4 races in. You need to get off to a good start here. 15 times the driver who has won a stage won the race, including Kyle Larson, who had a clean sweep here in the spring in 2024. But that's not the only thing that you have to look out for in Sin City.
Yeah, I always say that's a racetrack where it just takes everything to be good. You got to have a fast car. You got to be able to take the bumps good. You got to have good horsepower. You got to have good fuel mileage. Right? You got to have the right strategy. And it is the Pennzoil 400, right? I will be driving the Pennzoil car there, so you want to make sure you have a good run in there, a good showing, and I don't see why we wouldn't be good there. I'm looking forward to getting out there and seeing what we got.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of characteristics. I think the bumps entry of turn 1 are definitely unique. Some big swells there. There's some bumps off of 2 up high, and then into turn 3.
And how about some track trends as we head into the weekend? Tyler Reddick hasn't found victory lane yet this year, but he has finished in the top 10 at Vegas in 5 of his last 7 races. If you drive for Mr. H, you certainly like this track. Hendrick drivers have won 5 of the last 8 races, including the last 4 spring races. Get on the Chris Buescher train while you can. 3 top 10s in the first 4 races of the year. It's only a matter of time until the driver of the 17 takes home a checkered flag. Joe Logano, he's led 207 laps in 2025, the most of anyone in the Cup Series, and he won the Vegas playoff race here in October. Then you have the Haas factory team. They really need to bubble wrap that number 41 car. Cole Custer is ranked in 3 of the first 4 races this year. However, he does have 7 top 10 finishes at Vegas in an Xfinity Series car. Here at Around the Track, though, we get the best insider info, and our latest analyst has the inside track, literally and figuratively, because he's in the Cup Series and Amazon's NASCAR coverage. Rick Ware Racing's driver of the Stacking Pennies 01, Mr. Corey LaJoie. Corey, welcome to the show. What's it like having one foot in the car and another one in the booth this year?
It's a little bit odd. It's a little bit odd, Gabe, but it's a unique perspective with running part-time. Was in contention with Daytona 500 a couple weeks ago, but now I'm full prep. I'm going to run Bristol right before that. Coke 600 Amazon Prime block, which I'm super excited about. They announced Carl Edwards is going to be alongside me at the pre-race desk. It's going to be incredible to learn from him as well as talk with Daniel Trotta as well.
Yeah, definitely going to be exciting as well. We've talked with a bunch of drivers about this, Corey, and you know better than anyone. The bumps at Las Vegas, they're a bit heavier than you see at other tracks. Some in turns 1 and 2. Then you have a big wave like when they're in turn 3. How do drivers have to navigate this weekend in Vegas with those bumps and those turns?
Well, that's going to be the talking point of the whole weekend is that bump over the tunnel. That where racetrack settled down right over the concrete tunnel. And we've seen a lot of guys get on the left rear bump stop too hard. You're really trying to maximize that ride height with these cars to get as much downforce as possible. And those bumps on how your car absorbs those bumps and allows you to really lean on the tire is going to be the difference between guys that are in contention versus not. But turn 3 and 4, the issue off of turn 4 is that we've seen a lot of wrecks on restarts 3, 4, 5 wide, and it just narrows up and you generally see somebody get stuck in the fence.
You mentioned the bumps too. How aggressive do drivers have to be going into those turns?
Well, Vegas is what myself as a driver, and I think most of the drivers love, is so fast, and it takes the level of commitment. You have to know that you're going to be running 205 miles an hour in there, and you got to keep your foot on the throttle and also anticipate that thing doing what you hope, But if it doesn't, then you got to figure out how to adjust your hands and adjust your lap the next time by.
Yeah, definitely a key strategy there. And folks, if you don't know who Christopher Bell is, you might be living under a rock because C. Bell is on fire. 3 wins in a row in the Cup Series, the most of anyone in the Gen 7 car. If he wins this weekend, the first driver to win 4 in a row since Mr. Jimmy Johnson in 2007. And what did he do that year? Win a championship. Corey, what have you seen from the 20 team that's made Bell so dominant this year?
It's incredible. We haven't seen anybody win 3 in a row with the next-gen car, so him just to do that made a bit of history already. He jumped on my podcast, Stacking Pennies this week, and we talked about what are you and Adam Stevens doing different this year? Over the offseason, certainly you had to change up your style, right? Because you come out of the gate and you've won 75% of the races. And he says, I'm glad you asked. We haven't changed a thing.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of all those details those guys continue to work on and prep, and now you're seeing the fruit of that labor. But it's not unlike that 20 car being up front. He's led the most laps here at Vegas, championship 4 contender almost each and every year. So now we're starting to see that 20 really hit on all 8 cylinders. And I'll tell you what, I want to hammer him for 4 in a row this weekend.
Hey, 4 in a row. You heard it here first from Mr. Corey LaJoie. That 20 team on fire, the continuity certainly key as well. We heard us talking about it during track trends, but Hendrick drivers, they love Sin City. The only one of them not to win at Vegas as of late is Chase Elliott, but William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Kyle Larson, exceptional at Vegas. Corey, you know that Hendrick camp very well. What's the secret to their success at this track?
Well, they have a lot of smart people over there, but at the end of the day, it's downforce and horsepower, and they have a lot of both. Also very, very skilled drivers in William and Kyle, and we saw Kyle and Tyler Reddick alternate. He was first and second all 3 stages in the spring race here last year. Kyle Larson, he's kind of been waiting in the weeds a little bit this year. We haven't seen him dominate races like we're accustomed to seeing that 5 group and Cliff Daniels perform. So I think this weekend is when they remind everybody that 5 team's here to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Those drivers at the Hendrick shop definitely looking to get a win this year. Well, pit stops, more important than ever in NASCAR. Vegas has its own challenges with entering and exiting here. Can a race be won or lost on pit road?
Absolutely, and we say it all the time on the podcast. My buddy Ryan Flores changes front tires for Ryan Blaney. And it can't necessarily be won on pit road, but it dang sure can be lost on pit road. But ultimately, every Vegas, you're going to get a caution with 4, 5, 10 laps to go, and that's the money stop. And if you can somehow, if your crew can get you on the front row and you get a sniff of that clean air, that can make or break your day.
And you have a lot of guys in the pits, a lot of former football players, different athletes as well. How important is it to have guys that have that experience in team sports, but also grueling sports like that to have in the pits?
Man, I was just reading an article with Mike Tomlin's down at Clemson's Pro Day today, and they're not only competing to get a scout on a Clemson player going to the pros, he's up against NASCAR talent scouts for trying to get those guys to come pit a NASCAR, and it's unbelievable. You see the caliber athletes that are on pit road now. Just a turnover 4 or 5 years ago. Now there are some monsters that are jacking these cars, carrying these tires, and changing 4 tires and 18 gallons of gas in 8.5 seconds is still unbelievable to me.
So I know we're just getting here into the show. Do you think I got the build for it though?
I think you might have missed your window of prime, and also you've got a face for TV, man, so just stick with that.
I appreciate that. A face for radio, voice for TV. Hey, but they put me here on the show. Well, Corey, sticking around, and you should too, because our guest in the Garage Confidential this week knows all about the neon lights in Las Vegas.
Now to be full-time for 2311 Racing in the Cup Series, going back home to see all my friends and family racing in front of all of them is very special.
He's done it in the Xfinity Series. Now Riley Herbst gets to return to his home track in Sin City behind the wheel of a Cup car. We go one-on-one with the driver of the 35 for 2311 coming up next. And the Xfinity Series on the CW has been heating up in 2025, and a wild last-second pass last week gave the Wiley vet and Eric Almirola a win in Phoenix. But he can't go to the playoffs. We've got some names of who can coming up next. And you have to admit, NASCAR sometimes is larger than life. And if you grew up in the late 90s like this guy right here, those lyrics should strike a chord out in Vegas this weekend. We got more around the track when we continue.
Welcome to NASCAR Xfinity Series. Start your engine! All we need is a little gasoline and a dream. Oh yeah, guys!
The NASCAR Xfinity Series, Saturday. Check your local listings.
Back on Around the Track, watch out for Dean Thompson when you watch the Xfinity Series on the CW. The 23-year-old Southern California native is behind the wheel of the 26 for Sam Hunt Racing. Now, racing is truly in Thompson's blood. He got to start racing quarter midgets at the age of 5. However, a brief hiatus actually saw him pick up hockey until he returned to racing at age 16. Now, Thompson says having that experience in the net as a goalie on the ice actually goes hand in hand with his career on the track.
It's a lot of information processing, it's a lot of high-speed information processing. Like, I got to read the defense, I got to read where the puck's coming and everything, and reaction timing, and all that can play into the race car. I've played a lot of team sports, but I've played very individual roles in team sports like hockey and racing. Racing, people think it's just, like boxing or kickboxing, where it's just like a fighter on his own, but it's just as much of a team sport as it is, a football or soccer team. So, yeah, it's pretty similar actually.
And speaking of the Xfinity Series, let's see how we're shaping up 4 races in. The RCR boards are sitting pretty so far. Austin Hill and Jesse Love locked into the playoffs with wins, and Jesse is currently in the top spot. The reigning champion Justin Allgaier hasn't won this season just yet, but he's had nothing but good runs through the first 4 weeks. You also notice you don't see the rookie phenom Connor Zilisch on this list. He's in the playoffs with his win at COTA, but up and down results so far on the ovals. He's currently in 14th. Sam Mayer and Sammy Smith, they round out the drivers we haven't mentioned in the top 5 in Xfinity points. Cup Series driver and NASCAR analyst Corey LaJoie rejoining us. Corey, your dad won this series. You've run Xfinity before. Who in the series do you have your eye on this year in 2025?
I'm looking at Sam Mayer, transitioning from Junior Motorsports over to Haas Factory team this year. Bit of a new leadership, a lot of things going different there. Also this weekend going to Vegas. Riley Herbst won last year. Stuart Haas has always brought some fast Ford Mustangs out there, so I think Sam Mayer's going to be the guy to watch this weekend.
What do you make of what Corey's been able to do, or not Corey, but Connor, the rookie, being able to do so far this year as a rookie?
Connor's incredible.
Yeah.
He really is, lives up to the hype of what everybody's putting on him. He came on the podcast a couple weeks ago as well, just talking about his Cup Series debut and everything that goes along with that, but he's 18 going on 35 in terms of his maturity level. He's got all the tools. He's got all the right people behind him. He's going to be that dude here in the next couple of years.
Certainly a force to be reckoned with. Well, when you think of NASCAR drivers from Las Vegas, the first thing that comes to mind, obviously the Busch brothers. But after rising quickly through the ranks of the Xfinity Series, Riley Herbst has made his name known. And now that he's with Michael Jordan's 2311 Racing, he's got more on his plate than ever before. We caught up with the driver of the 35 just as he was heading on a plane home to Vegas on this week's Garage Confidential. Here at Airspeed with the driver of the 35, Riley Herbst for 2311 Racing. Riley, coming over and up to the Cup Series for the first time. Take me through what you've been able to learn so far this season. Been up and down so far, but you're still able to learn a lot from these first few races.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cup Series is extremely difficult for the reason it's the top racing in America. So this jump has been difficult, but it's been a lot of fun, right? Everybody here at Airspeed's helped me tremendously. Everybody on the 35 team. I felt like we got off to a pretty decent start. Very consecutive 17-place finishes, top 20s, just very consistent. Last week, unfortunately, got caught up in a wreck, but hopefully we can bounce back in Las Vegas, my hometown, this upcoming weekend and have a solid finish.
Didn't make it through the race, but still the option tires last week. Do you like them? Are you a fan? Would you like to see them back in Phoenix? Your thoughts on how they race and everything that went on with those?
I think it was cool. Hopefully that we get to use that option tire compound, that red colored compound for the main tire at the short track, and we can just use that and keep it to one tire compound. But I think that is the correct tire that we should race on at all the short tracks, and it was a lot of fun. The fall off was big, and I thought you saw more Xfinity style racing with comers and goers, so it was really cool to see.
You mentioned going back home. I know there has to be a special feeling being able to be in the Cup Series full time, go back to your home track and possibly compete for a win too.
Yeah, just a dream come true for sure. Just racing in the shadows of Las Vegas Motor Speedway, hoping to drive a Cup car around there one day, and now to be full time for 2311 Racing in the Cup Series, going back home to see all my friends and family racing in front of all of them is very special, and just very honored to be here.
There's a big blend of personalities here, from up top, obviously with MJ and Denny, to you guys driving with Bubba, Tyler, yourself. How is that all blended together, and what's that like being able to learn from these guys and also compete with them as well?
It's been awesome. Everybody here is amazing. We're all different in our own ways, and I think that's what makes 2311 and Airspeed so initiative forward, just always pushing the edge. Everybody here is very different, but we all pull the rope in the same direction, and we all just look at things from a different angle, and it's very cool to be teammates with Bubba and Tyler, just really good race car drivers, and have so much experience that I can learn from, and just try to be better every day. That's kind of my MO and my goal.
How would you describe your personality individually? What do you feel like you bring to the team both on and off the track?
Yeah, I'm just kind of a go-lucky guy, just extremely honored and grateful to be here, and just kind of like a sponge, just absorbing everything that I can get my hands on, and just trying to learn and take as much in as I can from Tyler and Bubba. And obviously Denny and MJ have been great as owners, and they're very, very involved. So it's a really cool team to be a part of, and it's just truly, truly an honor.
Now, you only have 4 races under your belt full-time here in the 35, a small sample size, but you've been to a lot of different tracks, super speedways, road courses, Phoenix, kind of one of a kind. What do you think has maybe been the biggest surprise, but also lesson through these first few weeks?
Just honestly, just having fun, right? Just trying to take everything for stride for what it is. I felt like we've had good pace at most places we've been to. We need to work on our pace, myself a little bit, just trying to be better each week. But I have the best teammates to learn from, and the best owner who I get to race against every week too. So it's a really cool, unique scenario for me to get better and grow as a race car driver here at 2311, and I can't ask for a better situation.
When you look at Las Vegas, obviously it's your home track, but a place that's also unique in its own way. What really stands out about that track, and how do you kind of see the approach being leading up to this race?
Yeah, it's a fun 1.5 mile racetrack. We've had some success at. We won there in the Xfinity series, so it's always good to go back to a place where you've won at. But the bumps over in turns 1 and 2 always make that a little bit challenging, and it's going to be difficult to navigate those throughout the weekend. But I have the confidence in my team and a race car that we'll have a really fast car and be able to go capitalize.
Tires may not trump horsepower, but they seem to be making a pretty big difference on the track. Up next, how do drivers feel about having the option at future short tracks? Their words on deck. And Hendrick drivers, Logano, Bell, how does Vegas handicap this race for the sports books with so many storylines going on? We actually have an insider giving us the odds right here on Around the Track. Back streets back. All right, Legacy Motor Club's John Hunter Nemechek will drive a Backstreet Boys theme car on Sunday in the Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas, part of a collaboration between Legacy Motor Club and Live Nation. The 42 car will feature a paint scheme to the band's album Millennium, which celebrates its 25th anniversary this year. The Backstreet Boys will begin a Vegas residency into the Millennium in July at the Sphere in Sin City. Nemechek in his second season in the 42 won last year's Xfinity Spring Race at Vegas. Corey, a couple questions. How would you grade my All Right? And did you have a favorite Backstreet Boys song growing up?
Well, I think that's a 10.
Okay.
I think that's a 10 for the effort. I don't know about the execution, but the effort was there. I was probably more of an NSYNC guy, to be honest with you, but I think I got to go bye.
Hey, that's a good one right there. Well, from I want it that way to the drivers want it this way in the form of tires. I was there in Phoenix talking to drivers as they put those softer red Goodyear compound tires on the raceway. Of course, almost every single one of them said that they want what NASCAR ran last week in Phoenix is what they should race with at every short track. Those softer tires burn off faster, but it created a better feel and, in all honesty, better racing for those involved. Insiders have told us that we will not see 2 different tires used the next time we come to Phoenix for the championship in November. But drivers are telling the sport this tire is something to consider on a regular basis.
I think it's a good tire. It's one that, again, I said we should blindly copy and paste at every short track. I don't see any track where it would wear, a lot more significant than what we have right here. So certainly, great job by Goodyear to develop this tire and certainly give us something that the driver and the team can really play a difference with.
Now, Corey, you have experience with these tires both at North Wilkesboro last year and Richmond. Would you like to see these at every short track? How do you think the racing was at Phoenix with the red tires?
I think something you've got to consider when you're listening to these guys with their input. Everybody looks through it through their own competitive lens. How does this serve me and my particular team? As a spectator this weekend in Phoenix, I thought it was awesome to see the yellow and the red. I agree with NASCAR's call about not wanting to have 2 different compounds and potentially introduce some luck into the outcome of what the championship might be. But personally speaking, that softer compound that Goodyear brought was incredibly more grip. I don't know if I'm on the side that they need to have that for everybody, because I like the disparity between guys that choose the strategy of a softer tire later in the race or go earlier to try to get some track position. Like Ryan Preece, right? But he made his bed and it ended up costing him in the end. So I like that element to an extent. But the red ones are considerably grippier than the yellows. I applaud Goodyear and NASCAR for trying to introduce this concept. I think there's some work to be involved, but I would love to see the option tire at every short track that we go to.
It would be great to see those red tires and how that works out at the short track. So can anyone pick against Christopher Bell right now? 3 in a row and a chance at another this weekend. Is he the Vegas favorite? And what about our picks? Find out next when Around the Track continues. Going into the week, Vegas said, let's go with 2 favorites because, why not? Kyle Larson and who else? Mr. Christopher Bell, both at 4-1 odds to win the Pennzoil 400 on Sunday. Tyler Reddick on the cusp of getting his first win of the year. He's at 6.5 to 1. You have William Byron, the Daytona 500 champ. He's been phenomenal to start 2025. 7.5 to 1 is good odds for him at Vegas. And you have Denny Hamlin rounding out the top 5 at 8.5 to 1. Not listed, but a great value pick, Joey Logano, with 11 to 1 odds to win in Sin City. Well, we got the Vegas odds. Now let's get our Vegas picks. Victory Lane locks. For the record, Carla did send in her pick. She's going with Kyle Larson, the winner of last year's spring race. Corey, who are you going with this weekend?
I pulled my card out too early in the show. I'm rolling with Christopher Bell 4 in a row. Not only is that 20 team clicking on all his cylinders, there's just a lot of confidence there. And also Gibbs usually brings a very, very strong car. But I'm going to give you a dark horse too. I really want Ty Gibbs to turn this horrendous stretch around. I would love to see that 54 car be up in the mix as well, and long odds. So look for the 54 to run well as well.
Absolutely. I'm going with Tyler Reddick, who obviously is another Toyota driver. Give me Tyler Reddick to get it done. He's very close to getting it done in Vegas. So I think we have another Toyota driver in victory lane. For Corey LaJoie, I'm Gabe McDonald. Enjoy the race at Vegas. We'll see you next week when we look ahead to Homestead.